What's up, guys? Welcome. Crypto FUD. And let's jump right into this, guys. Oh, what is going on, guys? I know it's rough out there. I understand. Blood in the streets. We're going to talk about this. Obviously, you see the thumbnail. Most people are going to fail. We are getting to a point where we're getting so close. And this is where a lot of people are going to pack their bags. They're going to end up selling off. And they're going to miss out on massive gains that are coming here. So let's jump right into this, guys. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome. Art's in the house at Blood on the Sheets. Yeah. No Diddy on that one. So let's just do this, guys. So Bitcoin right now sitting at around $114,000. Yeah, let me repeat that one more time. Bitcoin sitting at $114,000. Just what is it? Less than a week ago, we were literally sitting at an all-time high of 124,400 is what I have right here on my chart. Absolutely brutal. Or is it? Let's jump into this, guys. So right now, you can see Bitcoin is finding some support. We do have some support somewhere around that 114. Really, my support level was somewhere around that 113,700. Bill, what's going on, bro? So 113,700, around 800, 113.7, 113.8 seems to be where we have some kind of a support level. Is it going to hold? Who freaking knows as of now? Like I said, we're going to cover a couple things. This drop that we're having right now was to be expected. If you are a member, as I know a lot of my viewers are, we have our member streams. We have been calling this drop technically for the last 4 weeks. And I'm going to explain how we were able to call this drop, and do I think there's going to be more pain ahead of us? I think that's the biggest thing, is where are we headed right now? Is there more pain to come? Well, let's just find out. Ethereum right now on a downward trend as well, trying to hold very well. 4,200, you can see from our local high that we did run up to about 4,800. As of now, like I said, we're sitting at around 4,200. Couple things for Ethereum. First things first is, even with Bitcoin being at around 114 and Ethereum being at around 4,200, I'm not worried at all. It sucks to kind of go through this, right? But at the same time, it was to be expected. For Ethereum, a couple levels that I seriously want to see us hold for us to be extremely bullish on this next leg up is going to be that 4,100 area. Remember, we talked about this for Ethereum. As we were heading up, we actually called out Ethereum at 2,500 and said 4,000 was inbound, right? So 4,100 has been that area that I've said plenty of times, right? As we were heading up, that was going to be a big spot for some resistance, right? If we go back just a few months, less than a year from where we're at right now, we've come up to 4,100 a couple of times and been rejected. Well, now we're above that 4,100. So if we do continue to see some downward movement, hopefully that 4,100 is going to hold like no tomorrow. We need it to hold 4,100. It obviously is not going to be the end of everything if it doesn't hold, but this would be setting us up for a very big move when the next leg comes up. If we don't hold that 4,100, the next big spot that we're going to have is the 236, which is going to be around 3,700, 3,761 to be exact. That's a considerable drop from where we're at right now. Let's just talk about that 4,100. Hopefully we don't even need to retest it, but if we do, I do believe that 4,100 is going to be a big spot for some solid support that we technically need, right? So with that, looking at the crypto bubbles, right? We're going to kind of move fast here because I know a lot of people are busy. This is kind of a later stream, but I want to go through everything, and by the end of the stream, I guarantee hopefully I'll be able to give you guys a little bit of hopium. I know my members should be straight. Last night we had a big stream last night, almost 2 hours of talking about everything that's going on and what we pretty much have been, seeing in the markets for the last few days. So on the daily, you can see red, right? Obviously, you're going to see alts are going to be down, obviously, with the market being down as well. So, I mean, not going to beat a dead horse here, but you can see there are a few outliners like OKB still doing fairly well, holding it around 3%. We have this Leo token up about 1%, and XMR Monero as well up about 1%, and XTC Network up about 0.5%. Oh, and Mantle's up 5% right now. But other than that, Red across the board. Red across the board. Obviously, that's what we're going to see right now, especially with the markets being down. Not really, going to beat this dead horse. So what's going on here? Well, let's just a couple things. Fear and greed, we're in neutral. You can see the market cap has had a big considerable dip as of now. We did top out on the market cap at around 4.2 trillion. We have dipped down to about 3.8 trillion. So about $400 billion has come out of the market for right now, right? With fears of everything, with the markets, you have a lot of fear out there. Is this it? Was this the top? Stuff like that going on. Typical stuff for a 4-year cycle, right? Flip, what's going on, brother? What's going on, man? Happy Tuesday. So typical stuff of what we're going to see going on a on a 4-year cycle. So let's go back into history. Let's talk about this real quick. We're not going to cover this too much. I want to cover some bullish articles, believe it or not, for today. So if you go back 2021, August technically was in a green, was a solid month. We ended up being around 14% into the green. This right now, you can see we've dropped down to about 1.3% currently for August of 2025. September of 2021 was a bad month. And really, this is a little bit confusing because August seems like it was a great month, up 13.8%. September was down 7%. But technically, if you go back into history, right, you go back into history and you actually look at what really did go down during that time, you would see that the dip started in August of 2021, right? So if we go back into history at some point, there we are. We go back into history real quick and we just look. This is pretty much where we're at right now, right? And you can see we had beautiful upward movement for the last few months. This is 2021, but it's like I said, very similar to what we're in right now as far as a 4-year cycle. You can see that upward movement, and here comes the beginning of September, and we saw a 25% dip, right? Well, isn't that a little confusing? Because if you go back and you look at the returns, you go back to 2021, and it says we were only down 7%, and August technically was a great month, right? Looking at this, well, if you technically look at it, August was a solid month. We did have that last little bounce at the end of the month, but man, towards the beginning of September is where we saw a massive, this is on the daily, right? We saw a massive red candle, and basically for the next 3 weeks in September was absolutely brutal. We saw a 25% dip in Bitcoin alone. Ethereum dropped down to about 28% at the time. The reason why I bring this up, guys, is because this is textbook charting right here. This is what we were expecting. We have been talking about this on our members only stream while we were moving up. I said we're probably going to see something like this happen somewhere around August and September, and it seems to be what we're seeing as of now. If you really look at it, right, from the top, from where we're at, this is Bitcoin's chart. If you see from where we're at, from the top to where we're at right now, we've technically gone down about 8, almost 9% so far, right? Am I expecting an exact replica of what we've seen in 2021? Absolutely not. The point of the story is that usually in the 4-year cycle, right? August, September, usually towards the end of August, going into September, timeframes can differ, but we usually see a big shakeout in the market. And I think that's what we're seeing right now, is we're seeing that big shakeout, right? And this is why I said on my thumbnail, most people are going to fail, because a lot of people are going to get shook out, right? Those weak hands are going to get shook out. And imagine, if you guys were around, let me know. Back in 2021, it was brutal. This 25% drop in Bitcoin. Alts absolutely dropped again. Down 50% on a lot of alts. Meme coins were absolutely decimated. But the smart people, they bought. They bought on this dip, because guess what happened after? We ran into altcoin season. And I mean that not just altcoin season, but the parabolic season of altcoin season. Bitcoin ran to make new highs. Ethereum ran to make new highs. And every freaking altcoin went to go do either 2 to 5 to 10x. Some of them doing 100x just in this span of time from the end of September going in towards the end of November. Isn't that crazy? We're almost exactly in that time frame right now. So this drop right here is to be expected. And I'm telling you guys, obviously nothing is written in stone. Time frames are going to differ, right? We're in a different kind of we're in a different realm, as you can say, with a lot of different things going on in the bull market. But a lot of times when you look back at these 4-year cycles, Time frames might be slightly off by maybe a few weeks, but damn, they look so similar. You look at the 4 years ago, you look at 4 years before that, 2017, they all look similar. Dates might be a little bit different. So, with that being said, guys, I just bring this up because I don't want you guys, to be making rational decisions, and listening to maybe some beginners out there that might not understand where we're at as far as this cycle and might be telling you that, this is it. Yes, do I think there's going to be probably more pain? Potentially, right? I don't think that this 8% drop is technically it. I think that we'll probably come back to retest some certain levels. Maybe this 111, I saw some analysts calling for potentially us breaking below 100,000. I think that would be a little on the far side, but if we went from 124,000 down to about 100K, that would technically be about a 25% drop. I think, right? My math is probably a little off, but it would probably be about a 20% drop, maybe given a little bit here and there. We could see that, right? So yes, I know it sucks. It's not something you want to talk about, but I want to bring it up. We've been talking about this on our members only stream for weeks now, guys. We've been talking about this for weeks. Do I think that everybody, as far as members, sold off their whole portfolio and now they're buying back in? Absolutely not. But we bring this up because I want everybody to be mentally prepared for this, because we've seen all this happen before, guys. We've seen all this happen before, guys. So just be strong out there. Be careful on making some rational decisions right now, because potentially you could have gone through all this, right? And then on that last freaking stretch, you may make the wrong move, and then boom, you're FOMOing in the next month at a lot higher prices to get very small gains, as we're all selling our projects over to you because you FOMO'd out, and you listen to who knows out there that's telling you to sell. Now, with the bearish stuff out of the way, let's jump into some bullish stuff here. So, a couple articles that we're going to talk about. So, crypto bull run is just beginning. Here are 3 stocks to play. I don't know about stocks here, but I want to hear what they have to say about this bull run particularly. Let's see here. So, the crypto rally may just be getting started. We believe we are in the middle of a digital asset revolution backed by the regulatory reform. Bernstein analysts wrote in a new note. The Trump administration is in a mission-critical mode to build the U.S. into a crypto capital of the world, so the market peak is not anywhere near. Let's see here. So I don't want to mispronounce this person's name, but they said he now expects the crypto cycle to run until at least 2027. 27? I don't know if I agree with that, but damn, that'd be awesome, right? Powered by a friendlier regulation, rising institutional demand, and broader adoption beyond Bitcoin. That spells good news for 3 stocks: Coinbase, Robinhood, and Circle. So we already know about all those. Those are basically linked to the crypto industry as well. But I wanted to read through that. A lot of analysts are thinking that we're going to maybe push past this 4-year cycle. Let's see. Let's just go through this right here, and let's see where we're at the end of this year as far as pushing through, even into 2026. More bullish, though. We already read this article. I didn't realize I had the same article here twice. Look at this. Let's see here. So this has a little bit more in detail. So on Tuesday, the brokerage said Bitcoin could reach between 150,000 and 200 within the next year, but get out of here. But argued that the Trump administration is on a mission to critical mode to build the U.S. into the crypto capital of the world, extending the runway for the digital assets well beyond prior peaks. We expect a long crypto bull market, continuing the surge into 2026 and potentially peaking in 2027. We just read that. Let me see if there's anything else, but they're technically calling for that $150,000, $200,000 Bitcoin. Obviously not tomorrow, but going into 2026. We'll have to see how that plays out. Another bullish thing, Tom Lee. So Tom Lee's an insider, predicts Ethereum dips to 4,075, right? So they're predicting that maybe we might see an Ethereum break below that key level of that 4,100, but maybe finding that support above the 236 somewhere. They're saying that we might see a 4,075 before the rally jumps to about 5,100 on Ethereum. So Tom Lee, chairman of BitMine, has discovered exclusive insights regarding Ethereum's price direction, forecasting a temporary decline to about 4,775 to about 4,150 range before a subsequent rally towards newer highs near 5,100. Though on August 19th post on X, Lee shared a confidential screenshot featuring correspondence from Mark Newton, a Frustrat Global's global head of technical strategy. That was a tongue twister right there. The email contained Elliott Wave technical analysts suggesting a constructive correction for Ethereum during this week, followed by a potential move above 5,100. And you know what's crazy is yesterday we obviously saw the dip happening, and we went into on Twitter and we looked at Arkham, and they verified on Arkham, right? Just in the last 24 hours, probably about $500 million worth of Ethereum being bought by just a few different whales, right? One of them being Tom Lee's company Bitmine. And this goes to show you that a lot of these whales, they're not really shaken by some of these dips because they understand where we're headed, they understand where we're at in this cycle, and they know where we're going, right? So these dips, like we talked about yesterday, are a blessing. And I know it's you hear that all the time, right? You hear it's gimmicky, right? That's what I was going to get to. Is it's gimmicky hearing, oh, buy this dip. It's a blessing, right? And you're like 20 dips in and you're like, bro, it's like, come on. We looked at the charts. September seems to be that month where we just get that big shakeout before we see that massive, massive run towards that 4-year cycle. That's where I think we're at, guys. And I'm telling you, me personally, I have been taking advantage of this dip particularly, and I've just been accumulating like crazy. So institutional accumulation continues despite profit taking. And this is what we were talking about yesterday. The uncertainty is reflecting in recent selling pressures from whales, ETFs, and retail investors, which has pushed Ethereum's price down from a local peak of 4,793 to a low of 4,198. This is as of earlier today. We're at 4,190 right now, before experiencing a modest recovery up to 4,278 at the time of the writing. The selling pressure intensifies on August 18th. That's August 18th as Ethereum-focused exchange-traded funds transition from positive to negative territory, experiencing outflow totaling 200 million based on SOSO value data. Despite the recent dip weakness, current market statistics reveal that Ethereum's exchange-traded funds still control approximately 6.5 million Ethereum in asset under management, representing roughly 27.5 billion at present prices. Corporate digital asset treasuries, including companies like Bitmine, SharpLink Gaming, are similarly building their Ethereum positions. And this is what I just said. We verified the wallets yesterday. Hundreds of millions of dollars, and this was just yesterday, a 24-hour period. We're just buying the dip on Ethereum, right? Just buying the dip on Ethereum. And these are massive whales that are already holding billions of dollars worth of Ethereum, have been continuously buying. Same as Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor just bought a few days ago at 119. Wasn't a massive amount, but added about $50 million to the company's holdings as far as Bitcoin. Why are these whales buying? You have the big money buying, and you have the small retail money running for the hills, and this is why you have the small retails always getting wrecked, and you have the big whales always winning, right? Because they're all swimming together, while the small retail, not all of us, but a lot of retail is swimming against the current, and they're basically getting scared with their $200 positions, and they're running, selling for losses and stuff like that. So that's why I keep bringing it up, guys. Don't fall for the bait. Don't fall for the bait. Let me see here. And this is something that we talked about yesterday. We're not going to really read into it because we're going to keep it moving. But Mike Lee, as of just a few days ago, well, this was technically yesterday, was calling for, at the end of this year, he thinks Bitcoin can possibly jump up to $15,000 by the end of this year. This $5,100 prediction, they're calling this out in the next few weeks is what they're thinking. They think we're going to brush this off, which I agree. At probably in the next few weeks, we're going to brush the dip off, and we're going to get right back up into running. 5,100 would be easily attainable. But these guys are talking about a $15,000 Ethereum, particularly by the end of this year. That would be crazy. That would be crazy. Another thing, the markets. We have one big thing that's happening this week, and I don't know if you guys have already been told, but we have Jackson Hole. Jerome Powell is going to be talking on the 22nd, which is on Friday, right? This is an annual thing that he does every year. They basically talk about, the economy, the same spiel, right? It's the same stuff that we hear all the time, right? What's going on? Art. No Diddy on that one. But the same stuff that we kind of hear. I think the markets were anticipating that maybe we're going to get a little bit of a dovish Jerome Powell. Right now, you see 85% of the market is still holding strong, thinking that we're going to probably see some kind of a reduction in interest rates. This has fluctuated like we expected. If you go back just last week, we're at 99.9% of the market was expecting some kind of a reduction. But you can see there's been a little bit of a shift, about 14% of the market now, a little bit over, almost 15% of the market's calling for some kind of a pause. This is going to fluctuate, and mark my words, if Jerome Powell comes out on Friday and he says the same stuff that he always is saying, right? Uncertainty, tariffs, what's the other? He says like maybe like 5 different things. He just words it a little different, and it's like a cycle, right? And he says the same thing over and over. If we hear that same kind of language, the markets are going to shift, and we're going to probably see, I would say, close to a 50-50 of investors on the fence. Are we going to see that September drop or not, right? So that's where we're at right now with that. Again, I am expecting this to most likely fluctuate. Maybe we might get a dovish Jerome Powell, where he is, indicating that September is going to be a starting point for when they're going to start reducing rates. So your guess is as good as mine. Today on CNBC, let's cover this real quick. It's only a minute long.
Today, it's lots more institutional investors. So that's finally starting to happen. If you look at the numbers on something like the BlackRock ETF, the IBIT ETF, you can see now, Andrew, there's lots of institutions coming in. So what's interesting is that some of the whales have been selling. So I know I've seen your interviews with Michael Novogratz and the 80,000 Bitcoins that sold last month. And so there's a consolidation story happening. There's a change of ownership story happening, but I think we're going higher just because you just look at the math. There's just way more demand than issued supply of Bitcoin or existing overall supply in the marketplace. So we still maintain our price target between 180 and 200,000 by year end, and I think that's a cautious price target. By the way, I think there are people that are way above us those levels, but I just think it's a function.
So did you guys hear that? This guy, obviously very bullish on Bitcoin. Literally, still institutions are still looking at a potential $180,000 to $200,000 Bitcoin by the end of this year, guys. That's literally 3 months from now, right? Is that 100% gonna happen? We don't know, right? But the point of the reason why I show you this, the reason why I show you, BitMine, Tom Lee, I tell you about all the transactions that are going on right now during this consolidation period, is the whales are buying. The whales are buying. The last time I was saying this, I feel like I'm having deja vu, was when Bitcoin dropped down into the 70s like a few months ago, right? And the market was, everybody was terrified in the market and all this good stuff. But we're seeing on the flip side, right? Because crypto is very transparent. You can see these transactions happening, and you can see it was massive whales just accumulating like crazy while the rest of the market, mostly small investors, are selling off, following the herd, And what happened after that? Bitcoin just kept going. A few weeks later, we shake it off, and Bitcoin runs right back up to 100. And just a few days ago, we run up to make highs at 124,000 plus, right? So days like this, even weeks like this are going to happen, guys. It's going to happen. We've seen it so many times during the last run in 2021. And that was to come to Anthony, to agree with this guy, Anthony, is that the difference between 2021 to now is there's just so much more money flowing in. Institutions, right? Big money. You want to follow the whales. You want to follow where this big money is going, right? So don't get distracted on what these little guys are doing, right? Don't get distracted on right now looking at the hourly and looking at the 5-minute charts. Yes, they look brutal, but if you zoom out, you look back in history, you can see that we've gone through all this stuff before, and it always ends up working out as far as anybody that's eating up these dips, right? So that's pretty much that. Like I said, there's not, other than that, we have Secretary Chair Paul Atkins to speak on Project Crypto today at some point. I don't know what time. That's going to be happening at some point today. You can probably Google it and see. Everybody's talking about it, but no one has an actual time of when that's happening. So, but obviously, very pro crypto guy right there. Bill, what's going on? He says, why would these big companies be buying Ethereum now during this dip and not loading all the way up when it was at 15 a couple months back? Exactly, Bill. No, I 100% agree with you. Right? I 100%. I mean, why didn't you can use the same analogy? Why didn't they buy Bitcoin just 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago when Bitcoin was at 15,000? All these institutions, BlackRock and all them. It's just how it goes. Why didn't we all buy 10 homes each during 2008 when there was a crash? And the houses that are around me are $500,000, $600,000. Some of these houses in 2008 were going for $60,000, $70,000. Why the hell didn't I buy, like 5 houses then? You could always look back at hindsight. Hindsight's 2020. You could always look back and be like, why didn't they do this? That, I don't understand. But, the point is that they're here, they're buying, they're buying at these prices, and they wouldn't be buying if they didn't understand that there's the potential of growth that we're going to probably see in these next few months. So that's my take on it. I don't really sit there and, because I scratch my head too. I'm like, why the hell, a lot of these people, I'm like, why are they, these big companies, like even Saylor, I'm like, why the hell is he buying so much at 120,000? But he has to build up those funds, right? That money that he's using is investors' funds off of his company and stuff like that. So I'm sure he doesn't have all that liquidity at one time, or he would have probably bought 50% of the circulating supply of Bitcoin, when we were down, at certain prices. And I'm sure it's the same thing. This Tom Lee, he just literally took over Bitmine, literally like 2 months ago, right? And he's kind of pointed them in the direction of we're going to be the Michael Saylor of Ethereum, right? He obviously wasn't, there a year ago or just 6 months ago when Bitcoin was at, 2,000. He was buying though. He started buying when he took over Bitmine. Ethereum was at around 2,500. So, I mean, he was accumulating at some decent prices, but the fact is that they're still buying at this point right here, even at $4,200, $4,300. They're still accumulating mass amounts because, they know that we probably haven't even seen we've seen the very beginner stages of even retail coming in, right? And right now we're seeing retail kind of scared, selling off once again while we all sit here and just accumulate, waiting for that last big stretch of that massive FOMO and parabolic stage that we know that it's going to come at some point. We don't have a time frame of exactly when, but it's going to come. And who do you think is going to be flooding in? It's going to be all those retail investors that are going to be FOMOing in. And the trick is you buy right now where everybody's terrified, and you sell it to them when everybody's all greedy and everybody's FOMOing in, wanting to buy, you fill in the blank, at a 10x price from where it's at right now. That's the name of the game, right? You buy low and you sell it to them high, and then do the process all over again is how it works out. So, Crypto Meow, what's going on, brother? Hey, you get around, bro. I was watching another stream and I saw you. You were talking to somebody. I was like, my boy gets around on these streams. Meow's plugged in. Oh, I appreciate it, bro. You know what? Oh, that's who it was. It was Vision. You are correct. That was Vision. It was Vision. Well, I appreciate it, bro. I always tell everybody, like, no matter what, that's why I never try to, like, talk anything about any YouTubers, because it's always good to get different perspectives, right? You always, like, how I look at a chart, Vision might look at it different, and you know, and you fill in the blank. George, I am George, might look at it differently, you know, or whoever the case is, whoever you guys watch, you know. But I do periodically will dip in, you know, and kind of watch other stations and see what's going on. How are they looking at the charts, you know? So, but other than that, I think that's pretty much everything that we have going for right now. Other than that, let's look at the liquidations real quick. I want to look at liquidations real quick and see where we're at. Yesterday, we were at a tight range on the 24-hour. We're kind of there still. So you can see, I was pointing this out yesterday. It actually has dropped down a little bit. So right now, as far as longs and shorts for liquidation heat map, you can see we have a lot of liquidity at around 115,900, 116,000, somewhere around there, where a lot of people are opening up shorts. We have right now, it looks like people are calling for some kind of a bigger drop, where I'm seeing a lot of liquidity down here around this 112,500, possibly looking for some kind of a long positions to open up. So that'll be our 24-hour range as of now. And yesterday it hit like a freaking, I mean, it hit exactly. We looked at the 24-hour heat map and it was around 16.6. And that's exactly where we came up. We came up to about 16.8 yesterday as of last night and quickly got rejected. And obviously this morning we wake up and it's down to 114. So Meow said you're correct. Also, like, we all live stream at different times, so it's perfect. Like, I watch you, then I watch Vision while I'm at work, and then after 5 p.m., I live stream. Oh, bro, you have a channel? Like, you stream. Okay, awesome. I didn't know that, bro. I'll come check you out later on. Sometimes sometimes I'm streaming around that time as well. But if I'm not streaming, I'll come check you out. Come give you a like, right? People don't understand how those likes, you know, they work out. Oh, 5%. Oh, Pacific time. Okay. It's a little bit past my bedtime, bro. I'm over here in the East. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'll definitely jump in. I'll check you out. We'll send the squad over there. I know Flip comes over there. We'll bring the squad in over there. Come give you some, show you some love. No Diddy on that one. No Diddy on that one. Well, yeah, that's pretty much that. So as far as more support for Bitcoin, guys, I mean, if we can't sit here and hold this 113,770, somewhere around this area right here that we've had as support, as it looks like we're looking at the 1 hour, and we've kind of, if you can see, if we zoom in, we did bounce off of it, but we broke below it, and now we're starting to hit our head. Usually is going to be a sign that most likely we're going to see more pain, which I still do believe we're going to see. We have the next big support level. There's probably going to be some in between here and there, but the big solid support level that I see is going to be that 112 coming up next. You can see we actually did bounce off of this towards the beginning. Was this the beginning of August? It was. August the 2nd, we came down. I forgot about that dip. We dropped down to about 112 before bouncing and making new all-time highs. So, I mean, all in all, guys, if you really think about it, we're still in some solid positions right now. Other than that, like with DeFi and stuff like that, I know DeFi right now is getting absolutely decimated. A lot of my projects are down like 30, 40%, which are perfectly fine because I'm like, hell yeah, I'm accumulating more and more as we're down during this dip, because I don't think this dip is going to last for too long. It could be, you know, the next maybe week or two, if not longer, right? But at some point, we are going to kind of brush it off and we're going to keep moving. But for this week, like I told you guys, I'm not expecting too much of any kind of a bounce until we at least get through Friday, because obviously we have Jerome Powell speaking at Jackson Hole. That's going to be on the 22nd, which we will be live streaming to hear him say uncertainty, tariffs, and who knows, right? And he has a little bit of arsenal because of the macro numbers that did come out last week were not the best. So I'm sure he's probably going to have a field day out there at Jackson Hole. So, Art, no Diddy on that one. Meow said we're about to get rate cuts, so hopefully we move up. Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about that. The only thing is like I said, obviously, if you remember last week, Meow, we were up to like 99% of the market was calling for some kind of a reduction in interest rates. But you can see it is slowly starting to shift. We're at 85% as of now. Let me actually load this up and see if anything's changed just from earlier. Nope, we're still around the same spot. And I basically gave the scenario that if Jerome Powell on Friday, if he comes out and he's like I said, the same spiel where he's just like uncertainty, tariffs, short term, as far as influx in not interest, but inflation. Stuff like that where it comes out and he's acting, or his wordage is more hawkish. You're going to see this probably shift, right? You're going to see this shift to where I'm believing that the market is if he comes out like that, we're going to probably get to like a 50-50 of, we're going to have half the market thinking that we're going to see a pause and half the market saying, no, we're probably going to see a reduction. Who knows, right? Who actually really knows? Right now, the market's still at 85% calling for that reduction in interest rates. So as of now, we're good. But like I said, that's why I just don't anticipate right now this market the next few days to really do much, right? And if we do see any kind of a bounce, it's probably going to be short-lived just because the markets are waiting for the 22nd to see what Jerome Powell has to say in regards to, what he normally is going to say as far as the economy and potentially some reduction in interest rates coming up. So, it is what it is. Looking at like October and December, the markets as of now, which obviously you got to take all this with a grain of salt, the markets looks like majority of the markets calling for a reduction in October and in December. So like I said, we'll see how this plays out. I do anticipate this to fluctuate slightly, but if he does come out and maybe he fools us all and he comes out acting pretty dovish and he's indicating that we are going to see some kind of reduction in September, even if it's just a 25 basis point, right? I think that's going to be the bounce that we're going to need that we could see on Friday of the 22nd. So we'll see how that plays out. So, but other than that, that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it. My biggest thing that I can say, guys, is just be strong out there. We talked about this earlier as far as going back into the last cycle. We've seen these dips during this time frame as far as in the 4-year cycle. We've seen it happen plenty of times. They've been far worse. So that's why I say just be cautious, because we could see more pain even regardless of interest rates and stuff like that. We could potentially see September being not the best month and maybe that shakeout before we really start this parabolic move going into October and November, right? So just be safe out there. Don't make rational decisions. Let everything play out. We've made it this far, right? I really do think that, where we're at right now in this cycle is all lining up how it normally plays out. And this is just going to be that big shakeout before we get into that big parabolic move. So let's see here. Check out Meow, guys. Solid dude like Crip. Shout out to Meow. Flip said, this is me drinking the hopium for, for Dog Elon. Bro, I hope Dog Elon shatters faces, bro. I really do. Because, listen, I say this all the time. If you can make it through Dog Elon, you can make it through any cycle, right? If you can make it through Dog Elon, you can make it through any cycle. That's my opinion. Let's see, I thought I had a different chart here. And I don't say that like, oh, it's this terrible project. I'm just saying you guys have been through a lot. You guys have been through a lot. Thank you, brother. I appreciate the $2, man. I appreciate the $2, bro. Yeah, I mean, like, well, just to kind of back talk on this one real quick. I actually, was invested in Dog Elon back in 2020-21. You know who actually talked about Dog Elon where I was buying in was Vision, believe it or not, back in 2020-21 when the project dropped. He was like the only YouTuber that was talking about it. So I was watching his channel at the time, and I mean, Dog Elon did fantastic. We broke above $1 billion, at the time. But since then, other than this crazy run that we had on this day, which wasn't that long ago, back at the beginning of this year, and when this happened, I said, regardless how you feel about the project, I said, guys, as this was running up and we were towards this top, I said, not financial advice, but this is your exit liquidity right now to just at least reposition yourself in the project, because I guarantee it's going to be coming back down. And that's exactly what we saw, right? It's exactly what we saw. And I say, like, my heart goes out to this for everybody that's invested in this project, because, you go back a few years ago and this had a massive community, right? But I feel like a lot of people have slowly fizzled out because it just never really, other than in 2021, it never really did much, So it's kind of in this consolidation area now. I think the only way that this is going to get, back up and running, obviously, is the project needs to build some kind of hype where it can build up that community again, because we all know meme coins are driven off of hype, right? So it needs that hype. It needs people talking about it. It needs eyes on the chart and on the project, feeling, bullish again about the project. So yeah, I know. I hear you, bro. I wouldn't be surprised, dude, if something like this happens again. I just think that, next time, and I say this for any project, honestly, bro. I say this for any project. When you see one of these candles right here where it just shoots up, I mean, this candle in one day went up like 300%, right? 287% in a day, right? That was exit liquidity for anybody that it was sitting back here that was just waiting. That was your exit liquidity. Now, if you're long term, you could easily have repositioned yourself, right? But you want to, and I say this for any project, right? You see a freaking 300% candle in a day, take the profits and just reposition yourself, because if anything shoots up that high, now there are some occasions where you see something like this, like we just saw this with OKX, I think it was, where they just literally got rid of 65% of their circulating supply and they jumped up 200% and they're holding, right? Because their supply literally just reduced by 65%, so that right there, all right, that's one thing. But when you just see nothing going on and the project in a 300%, just crazy candle popped up because of whatever the case is going on, take the profits, because a lot of times when you see moves like this, and you'll see it periodically through almost every project will have something like this, maybe not 300%, but 50, 60%, 100% candles in a day. A lot of times they're going to retract at some point. They'll hold maybe some of the profits, or some of the gains, but for the most part, you're going to see a big correction just because you see such a massive move up. A lot of people are going to take profits, so I'm sure this will happen again, right? And hopefully, I hope for everybody's sake, it jumps up 500%, so you can take those profits and reposition yourself if you're long term on this particular project, Dog Elon. So, but it's an OG meme coin, right? You got to give it its respect. It's an OG meme coin for sure. So, all right, guys. Well, with that being said, that is pretty much it. Like I said, keep your heads up, guys. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna make it through here. This is all to be expected. I think we're gonna get past this. This could be the next few weeks, right? Hopefully, I'm exaggerating, and it's maybe the next few days. Friday we get a nice bounce, but this could be for the next few weeks, guys, because that's what happened in 2021 on September. At around the same time, we saw a 3-week period of a big dramatic drop in the market, but what followed was a massive parabolic run, us going into altcoin season and everything basically making new highs, not just Bitcoin, but Ethereum, Solana, all your meme coins, everything. Euphoria came after all this big drop. So with that, make sure you guys, what is this? Remember, he said 9-3. CNF. Yes, sir. Remember saying he's calling out September the 3rd. What's going on the 3rd, bro? What's going on the 3rd? Is that where we're going to get our bounce? Hopefully. That's a 2 week from now. It's 2 weeks. I don't think some of us will handle 2 weeks. Imagine the market's down for 2 weeks, 2 more weeks. But like I said, we brought this up in September of 2021. We literally saw a 3-week period of Bitcoin. I mean, it was brutal, guys. It was brutal. There's no other way of saying it. It was freaking brutal, right? Let me see here. I'm just going to bring it up one more time. Let me get rid of this. Some of these charts I haven't looked at in so long. Where is, there we are. This literally, we go back 2021, and I mean, this is literally going into the end of August and September. Look at this drop, right? You can see from the top, right? And look at this rally, massive rally. And then out of nowhere, we saw a 25% drop in Bitcoin, right? The time frames all line up. Obviously, not going to be exact days, but it's around where we're at right now. You know, so this is, we've been talking about this on our members only stream, you know, and I keep bringing it up because I just want you guys to be prepared, right? We've seen this happen, but look what followed. Look what followed right after that. Right after that big move, look at this. Massive, massive run. Now we're looking at the daily, so it doesn't look as massive unless you zoom in on it. But massive run. This is for Bitcoin's charts, but this was when we went into that parabolic stage. This was towards the end of the year of the final 4-year, that final, parabolic stage of that 4-year cycle that we saw. So, Remember said, be ready, been in the game since 2011. Hell yeah, bro. We're prepared. I'm just kidding. Most people are not prepared, bro. Most people are not prepared. Craig said, yo, we're good. Big dumps equal big pumps. If you guys didn't know, Craig is an artist. He is a rapper. He's a crypto rapper. You got to check him out. So he's just spitting some lyrics right there. Big pumps, or big dumps come with big pumps. Yeah, bro, listen, I'm going to be, like I said, most people are not going to be, if Bitcoin, if we see that 25% drop, which we've already kind of, I don't know if you would consider it already started. This was the big thing that we talked about last night on the members only stream. Has it already started? But I mean, if you go from where we're at, just a few days ago, that all-time high to where we're at right now, it's about a 9% drop, right? So, I mean, if you take into consideration, we don't necessarily need to see an exact 25% drop, right? Things are going to be a little different, but even if, let's say, we see a 20%, another 13% could be, coming down the road in the next few days, next few weeks, potentially, right? And I don't think, not all of us, but some people just are not going to be prepared for it. And this is why I have my thumbnail, that most people are going to get shook out, which it happens, right? This is the point of all this stuff. They shake out all these weak hands, right? And then they're going to come FOMOing back in once the market has already, we're well off into that parabolic stage. So we'll see how it goes. Plan B said Toad on Solana. You know what? We'll pull it up real quick, bro. Toad on Solana. Let's do it. Damn. Plan B, you're supposed to come in before the pump and tell us about this, not after the pump. Just kidding. Doesn't look bad. It's been out for a year. This is an OG project right here. This is an OG project. So, I mean, it's been out for a year and 2 months, almost a year and 3 months. Nice little move towards the upside today. You can see a nice 30% move in 24 hours. The market cap, 1.4 million. Liquidity at around $250,000. Not too bad. My thing that I would say about this project, that's awesome. It's up 30%. That's great. The volume seems to be particularly low, right? And I understand the project's been out for a little while. It's been out for over a year. So it's like with projects, it's hard to stay relevant, just because there's so many projects every day that are being created. Hype just keeps moving everywhere. It's not like how it was back in 2021 where there was like just a handful of meme coins, right? So what I'm getting to is volume, is relatively low with only 126 different wallets trading the project. So, I mean, just be cautious, as far as like if you're up in profits. Obviously, I'm not giving out any financial advice, but I would definitely be looking to, maybe take some profits, and if you're long term, reposition yourself potentially, because you can see, I mean, this thing seems to do this a lot. Not a lot, but you can see it's very common for this thing to kind of run up and then, come back down, run up, come back down, run up. We'll see how it plays out, right? Could be coming right back down. So, but definitely a solid play if you were in it before this pump, right? I'll take a nice little 30% move. Definitely, bro. Good luck with that. Art said, look at FXT 6900 on base. What's up with all the 6900 projects being? Everything's 69, 69, 6900. Is this right? FXT? Ricky, what's going on, bro? FXT 6900. It's not on here. Oh, wait. Is this it right here? Frog and Toad 6900. This is on Ethereum. I don't see it. It's not base. That's it. But this is on Ethereum, bro. This isn't base. Which, I mean, obviously we know base is a layer 2 that's on Ethereum, but I think this is like on Ethereum. Actually, not like base. Okay, it's on Ethereum. Okay. I mean, for this project, it's got a low market cap, $400,000 market cap, which isn't bad, right? I mean, solid liquidity at around 81K, volume around 90,000 with around 180 different wallets trading the project. So, I mean, it's been out for 12 days. They're running Boost, right? So they're trying to stay relevant. So, I don't know. This project, it doesn't look bad. Obviously, it's not rallying right now, right? You can see obviously the downward trend making lower highs. I would say this, given that the project's fairly new, a lot of projects will see this initial run, and then they'll kind of see profit taking. Some of them, not all, but some of them might end up coming back to make one more big run, before it kind of does that, just goes into the sideways action for a while. And I say that because volume not too high, right? I mean, given the market's only at 400,000, so I mean it's not too bad, but it's kind of it's not. You want to see a lot more volume coming into the market into the project because guys, at the end of the day, for these projects, right, meme coins, what is driving meme coin, right? It's going to be it being relevant, hype, right? So the first thing that you guys should be looking at before you're jumping into any of these projects is what's the volume looking like? How many freaking wallets are trading this project, right? That's the things you should be looking at. You're going to see a lot of movement in projects when they have in multi-million-dollar days, right? Where they're every day is consecutively $1, $2, $3 million in volume just on any single swap, seeing thousands of different wallets trading the project. Those are going to be your projects that are still relevant that you're going to see these bounces coming from. Now, I'm not saying that this project's not going to get a bounce. You can see it's trading in a real tight range. So hopefully, it's about to come back down and test this trend line. But hopefully, you'll see some kind of a move where eventually it will bounce. So, and I still hope, and it could potentially happen for this project just because the project's only been out for 12 days. So, hopefully you can see, some new investors coming back in or coming in or old investors that made money come back into the project for one big, last big bounce on the project. So we'll see. Thoughts on Bio? Is that a DeFi project? I know we've looked at it before. Where's Bio? Is that on base? We've pulled up Bio before. Just don't remember. Are we talking DeFi or is this guess just let me know. DeFi today, not having the best day whatsoever. Where are we at? Ethereum. Oh, I'm sorry, Ethereum. Bitcoin. What'd you say? Craig said you must be balling if you've been in since 2011. Craig, what if he hasn't sold anything though? What if he's been in since 2011 but hasn't sold anything? Would he necessarily be balling? Right? That's the question. Ricky said SPX 6900 is one of Murad's favorites. That's why all the hype. I'm just saying, it seems like every freaking DeFi project every week, it's something 69, something 69, 6900, FTX 6900, SPX 6900, SPX 6969. Next is going to be just 69. He also bought 6969. Everything's 69. Art FTX FXT 6900. Are you telling me to bring that project back up again, bro? You know Diddy. You're the one over here bringing up project with 69 in it. You're the no Diddy today, buddy. Oh, I thought you were telling me to bring the project back up. Art, no Diddy to you, buddy. Uh-oh, Ricky, Farcoin's back down. 87 cents, bro. Is Farcoin starting to run out of gas? Just kidding. Everything's down, bro. Everything's down but Myro. Ricky said, did you see that fabricated head and shoulders on the hourly for what, Bitcoin? Oh, are you talking about like an inverse head and shoulders? Because I see some kind of an inverse potentially, right? Shoulder, head, shoulder. Is this what you speak of? If that's the case, they're really messing with people. They're like, look, it's an inverse head and shoulders. Open up your lungs. And then a whale just like dumped. Yeah. I personally, and this is what I was talking about. We talked about this on the members only stream, and also we talked about it briefly a little while ago. Like right now, remember what we talked about last night? Like I said it. We looked at the liquidity heat maps, right? And I said this yesterday. I said anything that is any kind of pump that we see is probably going to be short-lived for right now, just because I think the markets are just kind of, you know, there's a lot of bullish stuff going on, but it's just, I think we're in a period. We just came off those highs, right, from Bitcoin. I don't like how that high came in so fast. Right, that all-time high just came in really fast, and then bam, right? You see this massive drop. There was no retesting of the high. It wasn't even really hanging out in those areas. It was just a quick run up, and then bam, it was gone, right? So that was one. The fact that we've been talking about, it's typical that Septembers aren't the best during bull runs, right? We're literally a week away from getting into September. And then we also have just like Jackson Hole, no Diddy. We had the Fed coming out. We had bad macro last week, right? So the Feds have some ammo to, you know, kick the can down the road potentially, you know. So it's just like it's all kind of setting up to where at least where I think is that at the very least, for this week, if for the rest of the next few days until we get into the 22nd, I don't anticipate, if we do, like, let's just say out of nowhere the markets start to recover and we start getting back up to like 117, 118, I think it's to be short-lived, and we're going to be kind of right back to where we were approaching the 22nd of this week, just because of Jerome Powell, and him talking on Friday. If we look at the liquidity maps, or liquidity heat map for like the 48, you can see we broke below where we had a lot of liquidity for people opening up longs, particularly around 114. It broke, it broke below where just they couldn't even hold. It was just the sell pressure, So as of now, on the 24-hour, you can see we're at a spot right now where we do have some solid liquidity at this area that we're in right now. And then the next big spot that we have liquidity is somewhere around 112.6. You can see people are starting to load up, potentially on some longs, and those areas people are waiting to see, or maybe some people are anticipating that we're going to drop down to those areas. And then obviously for shorts, we have a lot of liquidity lined up around that 115,900 area, we'll call it. So that's pretty much the range that we're kind of staying in for right now, I think, and we'll probably stay around there. Maybe, like I said, maybe we do drop down to that 112. We're not far from it. I have a support level at literally 112. We have the liquidity map giving us some, we have a lot of liquidity at around 112.6, which coincidentally is actually a spot you can see that we've bounced off of a few times right here. This is where that heat map showed a lot of liquidity in this area. So we'll see how it plays out, man. We will. But, like I said, even in the Discord earlier, I wouldn't really overthink it. We're so close to everything. Don't get freaking bamboozled out of you guys' positions, because, you guys know how it plays out. Right now, we were bullish a few days ago. We're bearish right now. The market's bearish. I think in the next few weeks, we're going to really brush this off, and that parabolic stage is literally, it's right around the corner. So Ricky said wave W is almost complete now. We get X wave. So the coming days will be pretty exciting. We'll see. We'll put it to the test and see. All right, guys. I'm gonna let you guys go. Go out, have a productive Tuesday. Go out there and grind whatever you got to do to go get that money. Take yourself off the charts for a little while. Be strong. Be confident. We're perfectly fine. We've seen this so many times. We particularly have seen this during the last 2021 run. Nothing's different here as far as that. And you guys saw what happened after. Nothing but parabolic after. So be safe out there. Ricky said we broke every trend line so far except for the long-term trend. All right, guys. Be safe out there, and I'll see each and every one of you guys either later or tomorrow. All right, guys? Make sure you guys hit that like if you're watching this after the fact. All right? Thank you.